here on the side of an ambulance, and with me is Kieran Flynn of the Irish Military Vehicles Group. What a fantastic display of vehicles, Kieran. About how many?
Well, the club, we have 15 vehicles here on display this weekend, and we have another 15 or so back in the yard in Naas, where we meet every Sunday for breakfast and we go working in the yard, a little bit like a men's shed. And this is how these vehicles are kept servicing on the road.
So let me get my head around this. How do you come to have these decommissioned vehicles? Do you buy them up? You're in the service. You're in the service yourself. How do you get your hands on these vehicles?
There's several ways. At one stage, the Irish Army sold vehicles at auctions, and quite a few of them here were bought from the auctions. Otherwise, you go to England, or people have brought them from England into Ireland, and you buy them from people here in Ireland. But it's already, particularly in England and in Ireland now, the market has increased. There's quite a lot of military vehicles in Ireland.
And there's a story nearly behind every vehicle that we see, and you have a connection with Jadaville as well, a UN.
Yes, I have a restored Jadaville CJ3B Jeep down in the square in the town, and it's one of 10 that the Irish Army bought in 1953, and they sent 3 of them to the Congo and they didn't come back. And I picked up about 2 years ago this one of the other 7 left, and I restored it as a Jadaville car with radio, as the lads would have used in Jadaville and in the Congo.
And you told me an interesting story about a child back from 1960.
Yes, there's a photograph on the display of a mother and son, and the dad is going off to the Congo, and that son came over here this morning to us and picked us out in the picture, and his dad is still alive and well.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, the Jeeps all have stories as well. This is an ambulance one, and we've got the white Jeep, of course. No, you would recognise that simply because it would have been used by the UN. The Jeeps are all actually running today in perfect working order.
Oh, everything here is driving, and the white Akmat, which you talk about, was used in Somalia as a gunship in 1993 to protect the food convoys. And it was sold at auction. And when I originally bought it, it was green and didn't know anything about it. But when we investigated it, we found it had been a gunship, so I restored it to the way it was. And I actually have a second Akmat that was in Somalia on the same trip, and it was used as an ambulance.
Well done. So now, where do you store all these vehicles? Where are they kept when they're not on display? Right,
the club is based in a yard near Toker's restaurant in Kildare, and we also put on a large military vehicle show in Naas Racecourse at the end of July every year, and we've had 12 annual shows at this stage.
And of course, I'd say that you would be used in maybe on the sets of films.
Yes, we've had a few vehicles in films. The ambulance we're sitting on was used in a series made about the Americans in Northern Ireland called My Mother and Other Strangers.
I saw that. That was brilliant.
The white Akmat, the white Nissan Patrol that's down outside the post office, were used in a zombie film that's coming out this year called The Cured, that was shot in Dublin and in Wicklow. We had a few other vehicles in that as well.
So this is the exact same as a MASH ambulance?
Yes, this is the same ambulance that you would have seen in the opening and closing credits for MASH. This particular one is 1942. It's petrol. Like most of the vehicles in this road are petrol, because during the Second World War, 99% of vehicles were petrol because diesel wasn't popular at that stage.
So to transport your vehicles, obviously they don't go in convoy around the roads. There would be too much hassle and too much order going on the motorways. They have to come here on low loaders.
Well, yes, we had 4 low loaders bring stuff down, one of which we own ourselves, and the other 3 were hired for us. And we drove, 6 of the vehicles drove down. But all of these vehicles drive on the roads and are taxed and insured, and everything is above board. And they all can drive on the road. There's no problems, no restrictions.
One silly question for the end. What is your oldest vehicle that you have?
What we're sitting on, 1942.
The old ambulance?
The old
MASH ambulance?
The MASH ambulance, yes. That's the oldest vehicle that I own, and the newest I own is the 1995, the recovery truck.
OK, when we get a shot at that later. Well done, Kieran. That is really interesting, and I can see a lot of people are really interested and interested in the history of each of the vehicles. I see your little one there. Is it called the Squirrel? No, it's not called the Squirrel. The little small one.
The ferret.
The ferret.
Yes, yes.
I was nearly there.
Yes, that's a Mark II ferret, and again, it's ex-British Army, and it's a petrol-based.
Is that a one-man thing?
Two man, the driver and a commander. It would have been a reconnaissance vehicle for going forward to see what the enemy were doing and then retreat and come back.
Yeah, that's what I say. Each vehicle has its history and its object.
And the big one at the very end, the Saracen. That Saracen was built in 1953. We used by the British Army, and it was used in the north. That particular one never served in the north. It served its life in Germany, and I have that about 6 years. And that was lying out in a field in Wicklow for 12, 15 years, unattended. And it was in an absolutely desperate condition when we got it. And we spent a full winter to bring it back to the condition it's in now.
Well done, Kieran, Flynn. Thank you so much for telling us about that. And I'd say these vehicles are glad that you found them and restored them. And you're going to keep them in safe and good condition for many, 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 many years to come, and they will last.
Well, our idea is to restore and educate and to keep these things going and a little bit of history behind them, because they all have a story to tell. Whether they were Irish or not, there is a story behind every one of them, I'm sure.
And war wasn't all war. There were some happy moments, happy stories from wars as well.
Well, you see, the UN vehicles we have, they were for peacekeeping. So we have a good cross section of peacekeeping vehicles. So we have the CJ3 from the Congo. We have the AML-60, which have been in Cyprus. We have the AML-90, which have been in Lebanon. We have the Nissan, which have been in Lebanon and Somalia. You have the Akhmat that was in Somalia, and we have another Nissan patrolling the yard, and it was in Chad as well. So
well done, Kieran. That is absolutely fascinating, and for giving us a little taste of being in the military and what it was like to be in the military and the vehicles that were used. Your next gig. When is your next exhibition?
Our next gig is in. No, our next gig we have a display in Athlone Barracks, and the following day we have a display in Dundalk Barracks for the Defence Forces. We visit Defence Forces barracks quite regularly and do displays for them, and then we're doing one on Dundalk as well later on.
Okay, well done, and thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you
Great
very much
stuff.
indeed. Thank you.